You guys can hear me. Okay. It's ridiculous. Okay, so you can resume.
So I need to start a new one.
Yeah. Okay, whatever. You know that's a new one?
Hmm.
All right, here we go. Sorry about that. We're okay?
We'll do it. I'll figure it out.
You want to do it? Here we go. Okay. Fine. It's on? Okay, so we were saying that in Parshat Shlach, Rashi says about the slander given by the spies, that any sheker, falsehood that doesn't have a bit of truth within it cannot be accepted. Okay? Meaning, once something becomes exposed that it's 100% false, that's when it falls. For something to be acceptable, falsehood, you need some truth in it. That's why the spies, they said something nice. They said something positive about the Holy Land. They said, here are the fruits of the Holy Land, and the land is very good. And then they started slandering, and that's how the slander was accepted. So here in life, what's happening in the world is now the falsehood, the sheker that people have in their hashkafa and their perspectives is coming out so much, so full force is it coming out that now it's becoming obvious that it's falsehood. You know, like there was one lady, she was saying 2 + 2 is 3, it's not 4. And to say 2 + 2 is 4 is racism. So the person, she made a fool of herself. But the point is, when you say something which is 100% false, then it becomes true, that it becomes clear they can't accept it. How do people accept falsehood? How did Nazi Germany convince people and Hitler, Yamach Shema, and everything? Because they try to bring in true arguments that make sense and everything in the cover behind it. But we're reaching a point now where people say outwardly that they're bad and it's evil and it's wrong. So what do you want? How do you want me to live with you? So that's what's happening in the world now, which is amazing. Now that in other words, the truth is becoming identified as the truth, and the falsehood is becoming identified as the falsehood. So this is something which is happening in the world. It's crazy. It's putting people on the spot. Until now, you could live in your corner, like they say, Shalom alay nafshi. Don't get me involved. Now everybody has to give their opinion. Are you on the side of falsehood or truth? And it's unbelievable. In any event, we're going to continue with where we left off. And what Rabbi Nachman's saying here is unbelievable. And in general, Rabbi Nachman's teachings are so high that you can find everything you're going through in life, you can find in his teachings. That's how far-reaching they are. Because they're so high, so profound, so far-reaching, you can interpret them in your life. You can find the interpretation of what he's saying in your personal struggle to connect to God, in your personal struggle to be a human being, to survive, to live, to walk, to be normal, to be happy, which is what really we're going into. His teachings are there. They made it there before you even. Okay? If you want to say it like that. So we're going to continue with where we left off. Okay. Here we go. We are going to continue with where we left off, Bezat Hashem. We are Likutey Moharan, lesson 24, paragraph number 7. And to recap, the recap is like this, that Rabbi Nachman teaches, if you work on being happy, especially in your service of Hashem, you try your best, you make as your goal to do things besimcha, as opposed to doing things just to get over with it. You work and make as a goal to do things with joy. So you are entitled to many, many blessings. The main blessing that you're entitled to is called the blessing of the intellect, which means that Hashem grants you, because of your positive attitude, because you want to be besimcha, Hashem blesses you with an opening of the intellect. He allows you that your mind should be opened up to perceive Hashem clearer and clearer in your life. However, since ultimately you can't grasp Hashem fully, you need to join that intellect, that blessing of intellect, with Emunah. Meaning what? That as much as Hashem allows you to advance in your life, you realize there's much more out there. Hashem's opening the doors for you. You're learning more, you're reading more, you're studying more, you're more into the Torah, more educated. And Hashem's, as if to say, He's allowing you to go forward. But you have to keep in mind, it's a trick, it's a catch-22. You have to keep in mind that I have foremost and forefront in front of me, Emunah. Meaning, I'm going forward, but with the belief that whatever I absorb, there's much, much more. I'm not going to start thinking, oh, I know this Gemara, I know this Mishnah, I know the laws, I know, I'm a knowledgeable person in the Torah. I'm not going to say that. I know, but I know how much I don't know. And I'm always going with that I know how much I don't know. Okay? When you do that, when you join this blessing of intellect, which again is due to you doing mitzvot b'simcha, with joy, and then you join it with emunah, so then you now are ready to face a higher level of blessing, and it's called the blessing of the keter. The keter is basically the gateway for you to perceive the infinite light. What does that mean on a practical level? There's one thing that Hashem is shining a face to you, allowing you to advance. There's a higher level where you are totally absorbed in the light of Hashem. You're having light in what you're doing. You could be studying Torah, but it could be without light. You're trying to build an atmosphere of happiness and joy and positivity. Great. But when you reach this next level called the keter, it enables you, if you're lucky, if you have the merit, to shine into your devotion light. Meaning, you see clarity everywhere you look. You see Hashem and God in your life everywhere you look. Okay, that's called the blessing of the keter. But he calls it. Rabbi Nachman calls this blessing of the keter. Rabbi Nachman, he calls this blessing of the keter what's called the Mesader and Meyash. He calls it the Mesader and the Meyashev of the intellect. What does that mean? That in order for you to be ready, that Hashem should shine into you a light, it doesn't happen by itself. You need what's called organizing and structuring the mind. The mind has to be in the right framework in order for Hashem to shine this light, which is above your level. It's above your true level, and it's going to be for an instant. It's not going to be something fixed. It's going to be what the Zohar, what the Kabbalah calls mate vela mate, which means reaching and not reaching, touching and not touching. Everyone in life, Rav Nosson writes, experiences this. You have a spiritual high, even in the secular world. It could be that you went to I have to say this, you went to a Pink Floyd concert 30, 40 years ago, and you were on such a high at a certain point when they're singing, and the lights and everything, and your hair is standing, and you feel like you're floating, okay? It's a secular experience, but you have such lights, okay? It could be on a spiritual level also. You manage to get to Meron for Lag BaOmer by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and while everybody's dancing and everybody's flying in the air, and your hair is again standing, okay? It could be that you're seeing an amazing movie, and there's a happy point, and everyone's clapping their hands, and you start crying also, and you have such a high feeling, okay? Or graduation. Throughout your life, Hashem sends you a taste at your level, even if you're not religious. He sends you a light from the keter as a flash. It's called keter because it begins with the letter kaf. Kaf is 20. 20 is 10 plus 10. What's 10? 10 are all the 10 levels of the sphirot that exist in the creation. 10 levels of energy that Hashem used in creation. They're reflected in the 10 utterances mentioned in Ethics of Our Fathers, Pirkei Avot, that Hashem created the world with 10 ma'amarot, 10 utterances, which, are also reflected in the 10 commandments, okay? So the 10 sfirot are behind the energy of all these number 10s in creation, okay? And what happens is the Keter, it goes down all 10, reaching you, because you are under the 10 sfirot, you're a receiver, and then it goes right back up. So it's 10 plus 10, it's 20. It gives you an experience which is way above yourself. There's a Breslover that I know, a friendly Breslover, Canadian Breslover Dafka, Emunah Friedland, and he wrote his story of how he did tshuva, and he said about himself. It's in a book. You can get the book. It's called Rabbi Nachman and the Knights of the Rosh Hashanah Table. So his story is there. He's one of the Knights of the Rosh Hashanah Table, and he says that in Toronto, before becoming religious, so he was very much into drumming, and he would practice even 8 hours a day on drumming because he went very deep into all types of musics and in going into the rhythm and working on perfecting the way he drums. And he said that he reached a point when playing music when jamming with the band, that all of a sudden he felt he was reaching into a spiritual experience from music. And he said that was like a wake-up call to him. And that led him to begin to be interested in spirituality, that there's more to life than just physicality. Because that emotion that he experienced when going deep into the music woke him up. So going back to what we're trying to say is this light comes from the Keter. The Keter shines this light and takes it away. That happens to everybody, basically. Okay? Now the thing is to build up to experience it again. So Rabbi Nachman teaches the way to build it up to experience it again is by being happy. If you work on being besimcha, the simcha opens up the door to the Keter, which hides behind it this light called the infinite light, okay? But the condition, the test to receive that light, again, if you want to say in life, is that you have to have a lot of patience. That's what he says. That's what we said last class. You need a lot of patience in order for this experience to come again. You had it, you're saying, where's that light I had? Now you have to work for it. Rabbi Nachman brings the analogy of the Baal Shem Tov, and Rav Nosson brings it down a lot, that like a parent teaching a child to walk. When the child begins to walk, so the parent is holding the hands of the child, and then he lets go. He let goes. And normally the child falls. He falls on his tushi, right? That's what normally happens. And it happens again and again until the child can start walking. You know, you pick him up to try to practice him to walk on his feet, and he's happy. And then the parent lets go, and then the child falls. So too, how it is when Hashem wants to give a person an experience of this light, it's like the parent picking up the hand. Hashem is, I'll pick up your hands so you can feel this light. But then he lets go. He let go in order that you should on your own. Okay? So everyone has this light in their lifetime. They experienced it as a teenager, whatever, in university, whatever age, the 20s, the teenage, from Jews, non-from, everyone has this thing. The question is how to get back to it. Okay? And you're going to need it because life is so demanding. Life and its tests and its darkness and the exile so much squeeze you that they force you to find that light. So most people don't know what to do. So they go to drugs, they go to alcohol, they go to their temptations and lusts, thinking that the temptation will fill them up. But like Rabbi Nachman says in this lesson, that all temptations only lead to sadness. Sadness and depression is the exact opposite of joy, the exact opposite of this keter. The sadness and depression associated with the lust and desires make you feel empty, and simcha and keter make you feel full. They make you not full. They make you feel happy and good about yourself, and you feel connected and valuing your good points. This is what's so needed to connect to the keter. As opposed to the lust and the ta'avot and what people run after in this world, they're just so empty. So let's go back now into where we left off. We're going to, after saying all the ideas, we're going to see them inside and hopefully get to advance a little and go further where we left off last week in Eov, the story of Eov. So again, paragraph number 7, Ubifnimiyut bircha'an. And from the inner part of the blessings, we went into this last class, if you remember, Shudakut HaBirchan, which is the refined level of the blessings. Because now you joined Emunah with your intellect and learn in Torah study, whatever it is, you now are joining it with Emunah, using Emunah as your guide. So now you are entitled to a more refined level of blessing. And this, from this refined level of bracha, is blessed the faculty of the mind to become structured, organized, and settled, which is so needed. If you don't have the structuring and settling of the mind, then you are not allowed to enter the domain of the Keter. You're not allowed to experience the light of the Keter. If you're not a person who's calm, the brain is not yet, if you're always just rushing and rushing and rushing, you will never be entitled to experience the next level. Shehi Bechinat Keter, the light, the Keter, which we didn't go into really. Okay, the crown. It's called the crown, which hides within it, because the Keter is like a wall. A crown, if you think about it, on the king's head, is like a boundary wall separating what's behind the crown, which is the brain of the king, who's mastering the control of his kingdom, and beyond it, his subjects. The subjects are beyond the king. Okay, the crown is to make that separation between the king himself, his control, his authority, which is in his mind, his brain, and the rest of his servants in the kingdom. Okay, so too the Keter requires that you settle your mind in order to go to the next level. Bechinat, and that Keter is blessed. We went into this last week, and it's coming up in the Parsha, next week's Parsha, Toldot, this Pasuk, this verse. If you recall, this is Hashem telling Isaac, Yitzchak, don't leave the Holy Land. There was a famine, and Yitzchak thought to go to Egypt like Avram did. If there's a famine, I'm being tested, so I'm going to leave. Hashem said, no, you, Yitzchak, are a set mimah. You are like a holy sacrifice. You were sanctified at the altar on the Akedah, last week's Parsha, when you were bound on the altar. That sanctified you to such a high degree that you're considered sacred, Yitzchak, and you're not allowed to leave the Holy Land. You have to stay within the border, the boundaries of the Holy Land. So don't leave. More than that, Hashem says to Yitzchak, I will be with you and I will bless you. And Rabbi Nachman's proof is the word Ekeh. Eheyeh, I will be. These four letters, Aleph, Hey, Yud, Hey, are also a name, is also a name of Hashem. Hashem has many names. There's Yud Ke Vav Ke, there's Shin Dalet Yud, there's Aleph Dalet Nun Yud, there's Elohim, Elokim, okay, Tzvakot. So the name of Hashem that's associated with this sphere, this level called Keter, is Eheyeh, Ekeh. On a simple level, is because it doesn't have an existence. The word Ekeh translates as I will be. Like in the verse here, Hashem was telling Yitzchak, I will be with you, Eheyeh Mecha. So will be, Eheyeh, is really the quality of this level Keter, because it's impossible to connect to it. It's just a stage of waiting to experience it. And when it comes, it's a flash and then disappears. And all you can do is wait for the next experience. So it's always a preparation to become. You are preparing yourself to experience it. When it comes like a flash and goes away. So this happens in life. This is crazy. If you think about it, when Hashem gives you a spiritual high, it comes for a moment and then it goes. And what's left with you for the rest of your life is what's called the reshimu, the impression. That light that you experienced stays with you for the rest of your life, and that's what guides you and gives you the push and the energy to continue going in the direction that you want to take in life. We decide to take a certain direction, so commensurate to how valid is the direction you want to take, number one. And number two, how determined are you to reconnect to that light, you're assuming that the direction you're taking will reconnect you to that light. That's why you decide to take this direction, for example, any direction that you choose in life. A person decides, I want to become a hairdresser. Another person says, I want to become a tailor. Another person says, I want to sit down and learn Torah all day. Another one, he says, I want to help people to give charity to get their kids married off. Another guy says, I want to become a scribe. Another person says, I want to be a shochet. Another person, he says, I want to take care of elderly. Each person with their perspective of what they have to do in life. and with the belief that this will reconnect them with this joy and light that they experienced in their life. Okay, but again, you have to know if you're on the right path or not. But the thing is, in all cases, is that you are planning to become. You are doing something on condition that it's connected to what is going to be. You're doing something in the present. Why are you doing what you're doing in the present? Because you believe this is what's going to in the future tense, lead me to bring me to the right address. That's the keter. I'm going to become. So Rabbi Nachman's proof here is Hashem told Yitzchak, I will be with you. As if to say, Rabbi Nachman is trying to say here, you, Yitzchak, have already mastered connecting to keter. The keter, in other words, Hashem is saying, I'm with you, but it's also as if Hashem is telling Yitzchak, you've already mastered the level of the keter. You're already connected to it. And now, I'm going to bless it, because you need a bracha to it. The bracha is what makes it happen. If there's no bracha, then it won't happen. And Rabbi Nachman, you can see, is going so out of his way to enforce that it's a bracha, because really it is a bracha. You think you can do this and do that. If there's no a blessing means a gift from above. That's what it means when we say I have a bracha. When you say someone is blessed, when you say Baruch Ata Hashem, blessed are you, okay? Why are we saying a blessing? The idea of a blessing is to activate something obviously supernatural, spiritual, but to show that this thing to succeed. For example, you have a food item, a water, an apple, you say a blessing. Why are you saying a blessing? There's the simple reason, because you have to ask permission from God to eat the food, so you bless. Hashem wants your blessing. That's number one. Number two, for the apple or the drink to do its job inside your body, when you drink it, to that it should have this spiritual nourishment, not just the physical, that the stomach and the liver cleans out and the blood and everything, and they send to the body all the minerals and nutrients. That's on a physical level. But now spiritually, that it should do the job of keeping me going and bringing me to my potential in life. I need a bracha. If I'm just a person like a guy eating in McDonald's every day, there's no blessing in the food, what it's gonna do? He just gets up in the morning, goes to work, and goes to sleep, and the next day it's like a dead existence. Blessing is where now I'm eating and have nutrients in my body, whatever, with the intent that this is going to bring me to my spiritual goal, my real goal in life, to help me to come to that direction. That's where blessing the food, Hashem over the food, so that He should put bracha on the food I'm eating. So we need bracha in life. And here Rabbi Nachman is telling us that there's what's called the bracha of the keter, which is what? Settling of the mind. And this is such an important point, that a person should realize that if a person is not calm, doesn't have stability, doesn't have, yishuv hadat, calmness of the mind, and he's organized and everything. So if you think that he should take these courses and take this medication and this and that, here he's revealing what you need is the blessing for this to happen. It's a bracha. If you don't have this bracha, it's not going to happen. The bracha for the keter is the bracha, and he's emphasizing it from this verse. And it's really a smack in the face to society, where we have all types of people who are hyperactive and all these terms, and people think that medicine and science can heal the problem, but they don't realize that the problem is a spiritual problem. That the person doesn't have mesader and meyashev of the sechel, that his intellect is not settled and calm, is a spiritual deficiency, and it needs bracha to activate it. And Rabbi Nachman teaches, how do you activate that bracha? How do I do? Simcha. Such a person who's hyperactive and he's not calm, what he has to work on, Rabbi Nachman teaches in this lesson, is he has to work on being happy and taking that happiness and putting it in his mitzvot. And with simcha, and by doing a connection to God with joy, he leads up and up and up to eventually come to the blessing of the keter. Okay? So now, where we left off last week, keter hu leshon hamtana. Keter means to wait. You see, one hand, he said, Rabbi Nachman, keter means organizing and settling the mind. But here he's saying, for that to happen, that was one interpretation. Second interpretation, it's lashon hamtana, which means to wait. Which means, in order to have a mind that's settled in life, you have to wait a lot. Okay, this is something, an important point. For you to come to who you really are, your potential, you have to do a lot of waiting. If you're not ready and willing to wait, you're not going to come to the salvation. Like we said last week, salvation comes to those who wait for it. If you're not able to wait for the salvation, then you lost the point. So you said, but I can't wait. Okay, you can't wait. That means that's what you have to work on. You have to work on hamtana. A lot of waiting until Hashem opens the doors. So Rabbi Nachman's now second proof. How does he know that keter also connotes waiting? On my own, I can understand that by what he said earlier, that you need to settle and structure the mind. That takes time. That's a time factor. To have the mind settled and organized, you need time to do that. So I understand that on a technical level. But Rabbi Nachman wants to bring a proof to this, and he borrows a verse from the book of Eov, like we said last week. Like it says about in Eov, chapter 36, Katar li ze'er. And to recap, this is a statement given by Elihu ben Barachel to Eov. As we know, Eov was complaining. Eov suffered ailments and sicknesses on his skin, leprosy, and he lost all of his fortune. He was very wealthy and very filthy rich. And Elihu Barachel was trying with the other two friends of Eov, trying to comfort him and give him condolences and to help him to go on. And he wasn't listening. Everything they said, he was pushed off. So Elihu Barachel gave 3 tries to convince Eov. On the 3rd time, he was able to convince him. Before he started, this is the beginning verse. This is the 2nd verse of chapter 36. In chapter 36 of Job, Elihu is about to present to Eov his 3rd argument. And he started by saying, wait for me, ketar li ze'er b'achaveka, wait for me a little, and I will be able to answer you. And also the verse says there also, esa de'i mirachok. By talking to you now, I'm going to lift up my da'at from far. Meaning, I'm now talking to you, Eov, not through rational proofs and arguments to convince you. I'm going to talk to you from an Emunah base, no sechel. I'm not going to pick up my da'at and lift it and push it far away. And I talk to you from my heart, from an emotional Emunah-based attitude. And that's what convinced Eov in the end. And that's all the arguments in this chapter are that you have to have Emunah. You have to believe that Hashem is guiding. If you don't have Emunah, then you're never going to be able to accept what's happening in life. And it's this chapter that convinced Eov. So we said last week, if you remember, on a deeper level, Eov was the reincarnation of Terach. Terach, the father of Avram Avinu, and Elihu ben Barachel, there are opinions that say that was Yitzchak himself. Yitzchak Avinu was Elihu, showing that this Eov lived for a long time. It was from the time of Yitzchak. He was an advisor of Paro, okay? That's already 200 years there, whatever. He must have been very old, this Eov, to live that long and to be able to go through what he went through and to meet these people. So Yitzchak, they say, Elihu ben Barachel, Elihu, right? Eli means the God is with him. God is him, the son of the one who is blessed. Barachel, Avram Avinu was called the one who was blessed by Kel. He was able to convince Eov, who's Terach. First of all, why was Terach reincarnated into Eov? So we said last week that Terach is called Terach. The Arizal says it's from the Lashon, the wording in Hebrew of lehartiach, to boil. When you boil something, so what happens boiling water? In boiling water, what is boiling water? The molecules, when you boil something, boil water, the molecules begin to move, and everything begins to move and become super hot because of the movement of the molecules in the water, okay? So that means what? A lack of patience. A lack of patience is when something is moving. Where was the lack of patience in Terach? So we said that he did something purposely, and it showed a lack of waiting. What we said, he was number one of the big idol worshippers of his time. He even sold idols to other people, okay? And he was very famous and well-known even in the kingdom of Nimrod, who was the king at the time, in that land, in Aram. And also, he purposely wanted to be with his wife when she was a Nida. It seems, based on this statement, that even before the Torah was given, the Goyim had this inyan, this thing, of not being with a woman when she has her menstrual cycle. Even by the Goyim back then, It could have been an inyan. It was considered possibly taboo and wrong and negative. And here Avram Terach didn't wait, and he was together with his wife. And the Arizal says the evil forces had stuck with them the neshama Avram Avinu. Okay, and Arizal says this is a recurring trick that Hashem plays on the evil. That when the evil sees a golden opportunity to bring down a soul into this world in such a level of impurity, they allow to release this soul from their spiritual domain, allow it to come down to this world, assuming that it'll sink even more down into impurity. But the trick is, once a soul is allowed to be born into this world, he has now free will, which he didn't have when he's under the influence and domain of the evil. And with free will, there's a possibility that he can break free and choose the truth. But they, the evil, feel that the evil doing in this world of a relationship in such impurity is so low that even if he's born, he'll never make it to clarity and to reality and to the truth. He'll be stuck in the ghettos. He'll be stuck in the low lives. He'll be stuck in the darkness of this world. And it'll become even worse. He'll taint his soul even more. So when he dies, we can gain even more nourishment from his misdeeds that he did, even as a goy. Transgressing the 7 Noachide laws. Don't forget, there's punishment, reward, and punishment. And for persons, good deeds and bad deeds. So that gives influence to the evil in the world, in the upper worlds, in the world to come, even if a person doesn't merit to the world to come. Okay? So he was impatient, Terach. He didn't wait. He was martiach. So his punishment was to suffer. And only Elihu told him the secret. Your secret of getting out the suffering is you have to wait. So he hinted to in his words. We said this last week. Katar li ze'er. This is not Hebrew. This is Aramaic. These words are written in Aramaic. The whole book of Eov is written in Hebrew, in Lashon HaKodesh. These words are written in Aramaic. It's not even in Hebrew. Katar li ze'er. We went into last week, if you remember, why Aramaic, what's Aramaic, the Holy Tongue. Let's add a detail. Katar li ze'er. Wait for me a little. You wait. As if Yitzchak, Elihu, is telling Eov, the secret for you now to pass this test is you have to have patience. He said, Katar li, wait for me a little, and I will set forth more arguments now. I'll say even something more. So he was hinting to him, you have to wait. Hamten, Katar li. And we also said that if it's Yitzchak Avinu, and he said, Katar li, I have the secret of the Keter. Katar li. And ze'er, a little moment, and I can now answer you. Okay? There's much more depth. But it seems that we covered this, I think, pretty as much as we could. We can go on and on and on. Rabbi Nachman, when he says an idea and he hints it into a verse, you can go on for years and years and years. You go on the Midrash and the Zohar and the Kabbalah and the Gemara, and it goes on and on and on and doesn't end. But you have to put an end to it eventually. Okay? So he says here, this is a rule. Because when a person is asked a question which requires thought, okay? Omer hamten ad she'et. The wise person says, I'm not going to answer quick. Wait until I settle my mind. And once I have a settled mind, I can answer you properly. So he's saying, Rabbi Nachman, this is his proof that Yishuv Da'at requires hamtana. So this is what he said. The idea 1 and idea 2 are connected. The Keter means settling and organizing of the mind, and Keter means patience are one and the same. Because he says, when a person is asked a question of intellect, he has to settle his mind first before answering. He has to give us, his mind has to be settled in order to answer correctly. It's so funny. You remember the game shows? There used to be game shows. The first person to answer, who was the first president of the all right, 10 points. Everything is fast. And the world looks at that as an accomplishment. He's so quick to answer. It may be that he's a genius in that, but true sechel, here he's teaching, comes from waiting. You don't have to answer, what's the answer? I don't know. And then you feel bad about yourself. No. You have to take your patience and not feel bad about it, because true sechel, true intellect, is by waiting. I think we said last week about Rav Levi Yitzchak Bender and the money changer. He offered a good, you heard this? I said this maybe to you? So I'll say it again. Okay. There was a Breslever in Yerushalayim, Rav Levi. Sorry about that. Again, the connection is not so good. Okay. So there was a story about in Yerushalayim, Rav Levi Yitzchak Bender. He was the Breslev elder, and there was a money changer. I heard the story from the money changer himself. He didn't tell me what. He offered an offer to Rav Levi Yitzchak, which was a win-win. It was so clear to do it. So Yitzchak Bender told him, give me time I'll get back to you tomorrow. And the money changer thought, it's so obvious that it's a yes or a no. It's so obvious to be a yes. Why is he telling to wait? So the next day, when Yitzchak Bender said, okay, I'm in. So the money changer said, why didn't you tell me that yesterday? It was so obvious that to say yes on this offer. So Yitzchak said, I wanted the idea to come into my hitbodedut, which is his time of yishuv adat, hitbodedut, and talking to Hashem. And once I gained that this was in the prayer, then I was able to say yes. I wanted to wait for this to go through with the prayer and then answer you. The idea is that in life, you don't have to feel compelled to answer yes quickly. Society pushes you, yes, just answer the question. Answer already, answer. Say, wait, I need time to answer. What do you mean you need time? Yes, I need time. You're asking me something which requires intellect. I need time to answer the question. Okay, Hamten ad shedeshev. Okay, we're ready just to continue now. We'll continue a little and we'll stop here. He adds now a new point. Vegam sham tzarich emunah. Oh my God. And even in the domain of the keter, in the domain of the settling and the structuring of the mind, in the domain of patience, you're going to need emunah. And its proof is this concept, bivchinat. It's a quotation from the Tikkunei Zohar. Amon mufla. Okay, we're going to go into this next class because already it's too much time here. But the point is, he says, even here you need emunah. What emunah? What emunah do you need here? When he said earlier in the lesson that you have to join the blessing of the intellect with emunah, that's when Hashem is good to you in life and he allows you to advance. And you're learning more Torah, you're learning, okay, and you're mastering and understanding, learning halacha, learning how to be a Jew. Everything now is advancing. There, where do you need emunah? Emunah is needed that you shouldn't think, I know, I finished Masechet Brachot, and I got tested on it. You can ask me, challenge me inside out. That's what we're learning without emunah. Person who feels, I know, I learned Torah, I understand Hashem's ways, I understand what's going on. Oy vavoy, such a person. If he's not learning of emunah, his advancement has to be in the cup. He's filling up his cup with emunah. I'm advancing, but always with emunah, that I don't trust myself for a second, that I'm open to hear other opinions, I'm open to criticism, I'm open to hear that I may be wrong in my understanding. Okay? That's one level of emunah. The level of emunah in patience, in the settling of the mind, what could it be? Since it's patience, what does that mean, patience? That means they stop you from advancing. We're going to see that coming up. It's hamtana. You're in a waiting room. You say to yourself, why am I in a waiting room? Why did they open the door already? What, I'm waiting here 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. How much do you want me to wait already? I'm waiting to come in, Hashem. Open the doors already. Most people in life fall because they didn't have enough patience. Enough patience. You have to wait and wait. I thought Judaism was you press the button and the piñata. You know what piñata is? All the candies come out from the piñata. That's what I thought Judaism is about. Where? You press the button. Hey, where's the piñata? Where's the candies? No, you got to wait. Wait, what do you wait? If I have to wait, I'll look somewhere else. If no, this is what I have to do. I have just to wait. And I'm sitting on prickles. I'm sitting on like nails, whatever, thumbtacks. I can't do this. I can't wait. That's what he's saying. You need emunah. You need emunah to believe that the waiting process matters. That the waiting process is part of the picture. If you feel that the waiting process is not part of the picture, you don't have emunah, and then they won't open the doors for you. In order for them to open the doors for you, you need to show that you have patience, which means emunah. In order to have patience, you need to believe that what you're doing has a value. And what the waiting, even though it's not advancing, they pushed me back. When you see coming up, we wouldn't go into this yet, that they push in paragraph number 8, he goes into the idea of being bounced back, a me'akev. There's the me'akev, and it's called the betisha, all these new terms coming up, which is a new level of the keter we didn't even go into yet, a new prerequisite of the keter. What's needed is, and he says, Rabbi Nachman, v'gam sham tzarich emunah. Even in the domain of the waiting process of the keter, you need emunah. What emunah? To believe that even though today I didn't make it, and yesterday I didn't make it, and the day before I didn't make it, but I'm patient that day will come where I will make it. The person now, for example, he's trying to wake up on time for davening already. He's trying for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and it's not working. But he didn't give up. And people tell him, well, drop it already. It's not going to happen. The guy sets an alarm clock for 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning. He only wakes up at 9. And it happens for like 10 years. They tell him, hello, McFly, smell the coffee. You don't realize? You don't know that they're not going to open it. Just drop it already. Drop it already. What are you wasting your time? No, I'm waiting. What are you waiting? You don't see that no one's answering? You're knocking on the door every day. I'm waiting. This is crazy. But you don't know how long you have to wait in life. Each person has to wait. Some people are waiting for their sherbet, their marriage partner. They're waiting and waiting and waiting. Other people are waiting to finally quit smoking. And other people are waiting finally to lose weight and to be healthy. And each person is waiting also in spirit. One guy's waiting for years to try to get up at midnight, let's say, chatzot, to daven at midnight, whatever. It doesn't happen. People are waiting, and Judaism is about waiting and waiting and waiting until the doors open, okay? It's crazy. It's crazy, but that's what Judaism is about. It's funny, the story about Napoleon, that once Napoleon, on Tisha B'Av, he passed by a synagogue, and he went in, and he saw everybody sitting on the floor, all the lights turned off, and they're lighting candles, and he asked, what's this? And they explained to him that the Jews are mourning for over 1,000 years already, over the destruction of the temple. And he said, what? Over 1,000 years, and they're still waiting? For sure it's going to be rebuilt. He said that if they're waiting so long, and they're still waiting, and they didn't give up, okay, this possibly is one of the greatest teachings of Rabbi Nachman. He said in other places in Likutey Moharan, he said, Gewalt, he screamed out before he passed away about Shabbat Nachamu before he passed away. Rabbi Nachman passed away on the 18th of Tishrei. So you have their 18 days from Tishrei, the month of Elul, and Shabbat Nachamu, which is possibly the 15th of Av, 16th, right after Tisha B'Av. So approximately 2 months, give or take, before Rabbi Nachman passed away, he screamed, he cried from the depths. He couldn't scream, he was weak, he was dying from tuberculosis. He cried from the depths, Gewalt, in Yiddish, like means, Oi, Gewalt. There's no such thing as despair. Ein shum yeush ba'olam. There's no such thing as this despair. And that's basically this thing here. Waiting, that you're still waiting, is the greatest sign that you have not given up. Because if you have given up, you won't wait anymore. And what's keeping you going? What's allowing you not to give up? Emunah. That's what he's saying here. Here also we need emunah. Emunah in what? Emunah in the words of the tzaddikim, that it's worth waiting. That all the tzaddikim who made it, they tell us to wait because that's how they made it. The reason why they became tzaddikim is because they waited in life. They had patience. Okay? And us also, for you to get somewhere in life, you have to do a lot of patience, a lot of waiting and waiting and waiting, but not budging. Okay? That was, I think, last week's parsha. I think we mentioned this, I'll mention it again. That Avram Avinu was sitting at the entrance of the tent in the heat of the day. The opening verse, Parshat Vayera, last week's parsha. And Rav Nosson interprets it like this. That Avram was waiting at the entrance of the tent. They didn't open the door yet. He's staying at the entrance. And in the meantime, Kechom Hayom, he's being heated up with the sun, meaning heated up with all types of temptations and desires. But he's saying, I'm not budging. The Yitzhak tells him, just drop it already. You're never going to make it. You're not going to make it. Judaism is not for you. Becoming religious is not for you. Shabbat is not for you. Just drop it already. And the person says, no, I know, I believe this is my address. This is my place. And the door is locked in front of me. I have to wait. I have to wait until they open the door. So he's saying here, you need faith as here, a different type of emunah. As opposed to the emunah in learning, in sechel intellect, the emunah here is to believe that the waiting process is part of the picture. It has value. You're waiting with every day of another failure, and you still didn't give up yet. You're still holding on. That's the emunah. It comes from the emunah, and I said that's what you need. And he said this is the idea of amon mufla, which we will B'ezrat Hashem go into next class B'ezrat Hashem. Thank you for joining. Sorry for all the disruption on the quality of the connection. And please, a friendly reminder, if these classes have inspired you, please share them onto your status. We have them on YouTube, we have them on Spotify, on SoundCloud, on many platforms. Please share them and get the word out, B'ezrat Hashem. Thank you so much for joining the class. Kol Tuv, have an amazing week.